Good morning, everyone. I'm Courtney, and I'm here live at Goats with Horns Animal Sanctuary and Real-Time Rescue. We are a small nonprofit sanctuary in Arizona, and on most Sundays, I try to come on here and say hello to everyone and say hi to the animals, go over if anything new and exciting has happened lately, and just talk about what's going on here. So we are in Arizona in a part of the Sonoran Desert. So you'll often hear us talking about the extreme weather we have. But today I wanted to talk about the fact that Sven and Elaine, our newest rescues, are out and about. So you see Elaine poking her head right over here. Her, what we believe, brother is behind her right here. I don't know if you can see in the right in there. I don't want to get too close. They're getting less and less shy, but I just don't want to spook them. So if you haven't heard their story, they are our latest rescues. They came from an absolutely horrific situation, right, Mermion? Yeah, absolute. Just squalor, and they were forced. They didn't have food and water. They were abandoned on this horrible area. So anyway, they had to learn how to eat hay. They had never even had access, to hay before. And thankfully, some kind people intervened for them and got a hold of us. And so now they're here. But the thing is that because they were so, emaciated and weak from everything that they had gone through, they had to be kept in a stall for quite a while. Weeks, just because they were, like I said, emaciated. They had painfully overgrown hooves. Hi, Esperanza. And so we had to make sure that they put healthy weight on and were recovered. And so they lived in this stall over here for a little over a month. And we would, put hay in both of the crates. We have to have multiple bowls. We usually have at least 3 bowls because due to them, not having food security for so long, they're kind of desperate for food, and kind of, especially Sven, the boy, kind of bullies Elaine. Not bad, but like if she tried to eat from here, he would run over there, and so if she tried to eat from here, he would run over there, and so we would put at least 3 bowls in here just to spread it out. And yesterday, after like I said, over a month, we figured that they were ready to come out. For a while, we had been just this last week or so, there's a gate in between that separates this stall from where the cows are. And after the cows came out, we would open that gate so they would at least have the run of both of the stalls. And they really seemed to enjoy that. They weren't scared of more space. They were, you could tell that they were relishing that extra space. So when we were able to let them out, it went a lot better than we thought it did. And actually, Elaine, the one who was even more shy, again, there's Sven. Hi, Sven. Elaine was actually the first one out. And they did so good. They were so brave. And we had to kind of slowly let everybody else out. We did it after breakfast so that the majority of the goats were locked up in stalls. We have to do a lot of separating for mealtime. So that way, when they came out, the big goats like Merman and Frankie were out already. Chico and the pigs were out, but they didn't really pay too much attention to them. The ones that we knew were going to pay the most attention and they were going to have to really battle for their place in the hierarchy would be the other goats about their size. So the littles, as we call them, the pygmy and the dwarf goats. So Gilbert was already out. He's behind Chicolette over there, but he was out. And then we let Princess out next, and then slowly, one at a time, instead of, hi guys, you're so cute, instead of unleashing all of them and letting them just go at it, because unfortunately it is very brutal in there. Hi, Sven. Hi, sir. when they're going through finding their hierarchy. They headbutt, they tussle, they mount each other. Gilbert was ramming so hard yesterday, the top of his head was getting bloody. It really is brutal, and unfortunately, it's something that we have to allow to happen. You think, well, we'll just stop them, lock them up, separate them. Unfortunately, you think of it as a boxing round, and if I'm not explaining that well, forgive my analogy. I'm not a boxing expert. Hi, Zeusy. So imagine there's 10 rounds, and in order for the animals to find their new pecking order when they're introduced to a new herd or, a new family member, new rescue, they have to go 10 rounds. Say, we're watching and, Zeus, you gotta lay down for a belly rub. Okay. Say, we're watching and they're headbutting and they're tussling and they're ramming each other. And after, 2 rounds, we intervene. We humans intervene. We say, you know what? This is too much. I can't stand watching. They're chasing each other and biting each other and it's crazy. We've got to separate them. Well, unfortunately, now, next time that we introduce them, they're back at 0. They have to start going through all the rounds again. So say we've let them go 7 rounds and then, we're like, hey, I can't stand watching this. Or maybe it's, we are in the Sonoran Desert, like I said, so we get extreme temperatures. Maybe it's 117 degrees and they start panting and, they're getting overheated. At that point, we say, hey, we have to separate them. This is a safety concern. And they were already made it to round 7. Well, as soon as we separate them, which of course, in certain circumstances, we do have to separate them, but then they're not going to pick back up at round 7 or 8. They're going to go all the way back to 0 and go through all of that over again. So it's something that we really do our best to try to just let happen as quickly as possible. And so I think staggering, letting everybody out. Hi guys, hi Butters, you want to come say hi? I think that really helps because instead of them, like I said, all just running at each other and start fighting and going crazy, they could, he's coming in for his little booty scratches. They, one by one would come up and go through it. And then eventually everybody was out, all the goats, all the sheep, everybody. And they were able to, kind of figure things out. And it's going to take some more time before everything's 100% figured out. They are still a little more skittish. We also aren't 100% sure of their background, so we don't also know if they've ever been around other goats. So we thought that they were going to be frantic. We thought as soon as we let them out, say Butters walks over to say hello, they would run to that corner. If somebody walked over there, they would run to that corner. We have had instances of introductions that the animals are just terrified and freaking out and just running all over, but they held their own. If you're not following us on Instagram, I highly recommend that you do so. The link is in the description box below. Hi, Sven. But we posted a reel yesterday of actually opening the gate, letting them come out, kind of watched them sniffing around to some of the other goats and even headbutting and a little gentle tussling. So it was kind of cute to watch that progression. It was, really moving to us to see how far they've come. But yeah, so that's our news report for the week. And that's if you didn't know about the hierarchy situation, now you know how that goes. There are other sanctuaries that maybe they don't have to actually have their animals go through the whole process because perhaps they have a larger facility or they have a whole separate field that they could put some animals over there and a field over there. But our property is, we have the bird side and all the big animals are over here together. We don't want anybody to have to live in a stall full time, so there's really no other way. They have to work it out. They have to be able to get along. So we're just so happy that it's working out so well and that things are getting settled. We've got Willow over here relaxing. That's our cancer patient, our goat cancer patient. Technically, we also have a hen with cancer. She is doing well too. Months and months ago, she was given 6 weeks to live, but like I said, that was months and months ago. So we're just continuing to monitor her quality of life. that's what we're all about here at a sanctuary. We're here for the animals, and we're not trying to take anything from them or use them. We have them here because we love them, we care for them, and we respect them. So just want to thank you guys for tuning in, and I hope you guys were moved and excited. Oh, there's Elaine over there under the little bridge. Hopefully you're also, that makes you happy too, as happy as it makes us to see everybody, starting to get along and just that natural progression of everything. So like I said, feel free to, if you want to hear more from us, check our description box below, because we're always posting on Facebook and Instagram. And we will see you guys next time. Have a great week.